Pack your things. His voice cracked like a whip across the office. I froze, my hand hovering over the keyboard. Excuse me? You heard me, he snapped, leaning against my cubicle wall. You're done here. People like you don't last long in this company. The words sliced deeper than I wanted to admit. My chest tightened, but I forced my voice to stay even. People like me? He smirked. Don't play innocent. Always questioning, always so loud. This isn't your place. A heavy silence swept across the room. Phones stopped ringing. Keyboards stilled. My colleagues stared at their screens as if the glow might shield them from complicity. I whispered, You're firing me in front of everyone? Transparency, he drawled, raising his chin. I believe in calling things as they are. Don't make this harder than it has to be. From 2 desks down, I heard a murmur. Just don't say anything back. You'll make it worse. I turned, eyes meeting hers. She looked away instantly, cheeks red, fingers trembling over her mouse. Someone else muttered under their breath, You know how he is? Just let it go, let it go. The same words I'd swallowed 100 times. Each time they left me smaller, my throat burned. So this is it? Months of late nights, doubled targets, the projects that saved your numbers, and this is how you thank me? He chuckled, low and condescending. You should be grateful I kept you this long. Don't make me list the reasons you don't fit. His gaze lingered on my skin. He didn't need to say more. The message was painted across every syllable. My hands trembled, not from fear but fury. I gripped the desk to steady myself. Say it plain, I muttered, my voice shaking. His smirk widened. You don't belong here, gasps rippled. A stapler clattered to the floor. No one spoke. No one moved. I forced myself to breathe, in, out. My voice cracked, but I raised it anyway. Every one of you heard him. Eyes darted away. One man coughed loudly, pretending to type. Another adjusted her glasses, staring at the ceiling. Cowards, I laughed bitterly. Your silence is louder than his insult. You'll regret it more than his cruelty. My boss rolled his eyes. Drama won't save you. Security will escort you out. A lump swelled in my throat, heavy and bitter. I swallowed hard. No need for security. I'll walk myself. My chair screeched against the floor as I stood. Every step toward the door felt like glass cutting into my pride. Behind me, whispers buzzed like gnats. Shame, really? She was good. Best not to get involved. I stopped at the doorway, heart pounding, palms clammy. My reflection in the glass panel looked foreign, anger radiating through tear-brimmed eyes. I turned, voice breaking but steady enough to carry. Remember this moment. Remember how you sat frozen while a man stripped me of dignity in front of you? Silence. Not one voice answered back. His grin was the last thing I saw as I walked out. Sharp as a knife twisting deeper, but inside another voice rose. Mine, strong, unshaken beneath the wreckage. This is not the end. This is the breaking point. And as the elevator doors slid shut, I whispered to myself, almost like a vow. Their comfort ends where my dignity begins. I can still hear his voice, I muttered, staring at the chipped rim of my coffee mug. My hands trembled around it. The way he smirked, like I was dirt under his shoe. You're not dirt. My friend leaned across the small kitchen table, her voice fierce. Don't let them bury your worth in that room. You have to fight back. File a lawsuit. Make him pay. A lump swelled in my throat. I whispered, Fight with what money? Lawyers don't work for free. She slammed her palm on the table. The sound jolted me. You don't need money, you need courage. I've seen people take down bigger monsters than him. Don't you dare give up! My brother shifted in his chair, arms crossed tight. Courage doesn't pay rent, he muttered. His eyes darted toward me, softer but edged with worry. Lawsuits drag on for years. You need survival, not justice. Get another job. Move on. Move on! My laugh cracked, bitter and sharp. Like it never happened? Pretend his words didn't rip me open in front of everyone. He avoided my gaze, mumbling, Sometimes pretending is the only way to survive. I slammed my mug down, coffee sloshing onto the table. Survive by shrinking? By swallowing my dignity until it chokes me? Silence stretched, heavy, suffocating. My friend broke it, voice shaking with anger. You've given too much already. He stole your pride. He doesn't get to steal your silence too. I pressed my palms to my temples. Their voices clashed inside my skull like storm waves. Justice or survival? Fight or flee? Was dignity too expensive when rent was unpaid? I whispered to myself. My brother's chair scraped back. You're twisting my words. His voice faltered. I don't want to see you crushed again. His fear seeped into me, but so did her fire. I looked between them, chest rising with shaky breaths. Maybe I don't know what's worse, losing everything by fighting, or losing myself by staying quiet. Neither of them answered. Their silence was an answer in itself. I rose from the table, my knees weak, my hands trembling. Either way, I can't go back to who I was yesterday. Something broke in that office. My friend reached for me, gripping my arm, then let it break into something stronger. Her words lingered as I pulled away, standing at the window. Outside, headlights blurred into streaks of white and red, rushing past like lives untouched by mine. I clenched my fists, the echo of my boss's voice crashing against my ribs. You don't belong here. Maybe he was right about one thing. I didn't belong there, but not because I was unworthy. Because I was meant to rise higher than his reach. And in that dimly lit kitchen, torn between fear and fury, I felt it stirring, the first spark of a vow. I don't even know why I came here, I muttered, my hands gripping the edge of the polished desk. My voice cracked. I should have stayed home. You came, the mentor's voice was calm but firm. Because you refused to stay buried, I let out a bitter laugh. Buried is all I feel. They didn't see talent or work or numbers. They saw a problem. They saw me. He leaned forward, eyes steady. Your fire is exactly what boardrooms lack. The words stung, not because they hurt, but because I wanted so badly to believe them. My throat tightened. They didn't see fire. They saw threat. A pause stretched, heavy. His hand tapped once on the desk, sharp, deliberate. Then let's make threat into power. I blinked, my chest rising too fast like the air was suddenly too thick. Power? You don't know what they did. They humiliated me in front of every single one of my colleagues, and they sat silent. Every one of them. They sat silent because they're afraid. His tone sharpened. And fear doesn't build leaders. Pain does. The room blurred for a second, a flashback slicing through me. Pack your things. You don't belong here. My stomach clenched. I pressed my hands flat on the desk to stop them from trembling. Pain doesn't pay the bills. That's true. He nodded, then leaned back. But pain can pay dividends, if you know how to spend it. A colleague entered briefly, papers in hand. She's the one you were talking about? He asked, raising an eyebrow. Yes, the mentor answered, firm, almost protective. This is the voice I told you would cut through every stale room. The colleague studied me, his voice doubtful. She looks careful, the mentor snapped before he finished. I met the colleague's gaze directly. My voice steadied. Go on, say it. She looks what? His throat bobbed. Intense? Good. I leaned forward. My words shook, but they carried weight. Intensity is how I survived in places built to suffocate me. He shifted uncomfortably, muttering, Boardrooms don't like intensity. The mentor cut in, his voice slicing the air. Boardrooms don't like change. That's why they rot. That's why we need her. The colleague muttered something under his breath and slipped out. The door clicked shut. Silence pressed around me. I whispered, why me? Why risk your name on me? His voice softened, not pitying, but resolute. Because I've watched men like your old boss strip brilliance from rooms. I've seen them win battles they didn't deserve. But they never outlast the fire they tried to extinguish. You are that fire. My throat closed, tears threatening to betray me. What if I fail? He leaned in again, words sharp as steel. Fail and you'll still be 10 times stronger than the man who threw you out. But if you rise, his voice dropped to a whisper, you'll burn down the walls they built to keep you out. I swallowed hard, my voice breaking. You make it sound so simple. It's not simple. It's necessary. His hand tapped the desk again. Start here. Work with me. Prove what I already know. You're not a threat. You're the future. A slow breath dragged through me, shaky but deep. My fists unclenched. The future. The word lingered like a dare. For the first time since that office, the shame loosened its grip, just a little. I stood, my knees still weak but my voice stronger. "If I do this, it won't just be for me." He nodded once. "Good, because leaders never fight only for themselves." I turned toward the door, my heart pounding with something new, something that felt dangerously close to hope. But the echo of my boss's voice still lingered. "You don't belong here," I whispered under my breath, as if answering him directly. "Watch me." And for the first time, I almost believed it. "I heard she's running projects worth more than this floor," someone whispered, voice barely louder than the hum of the printer. "Shut up," another hissed. "You want him to hear you?" I wasn't there, but I could almost hear them. The walls of that old office always carried whispers like smoke slipping under doors, cowardly, choking, impossible to contain. "She's already got a team under her. They say she's making moves in the city." A chair squeaked sharply, then a bark. "Enough!" His voice, sharp, furious, ripped through the chatter. The silence that followed was thick, guilty. My old boss muttered, loud enough for everyone to hear, "She'll never make it. Not in this industry. She's too reckless, too emotional." A nervous cough broke the silence. Someone murmured, "Funny, seems like she already has." Chairs shifted. Papers rustled. But no one laughed. I pictured his face tightening, that same smug smirk twisting into something uglier. "You all think she's some kind of hero?" His voice cracked with anger. "She's nothing without this place. Without me?" The air must have curdled with unease. I knew that tone. The same tone he'd used when he stripped me bare in front of them. The same tone that made grown adults shrink into silence. But silence wasn't serving him anymore. "She closed that deal last month, right?" A voice slipped out, hesitant but clear. "The one we couldn't?" "Coincidence," he snapped. "Don't give her credit she doesn't deserve." Another voice, sharper this time. "Didn't sound like coincidence. Sounded like talent." The muttering swelled, hushed but insistent, like a wave breaking against his fragile authority. I could almost hear his fists clenching. "Watch your tongues. She's not coming back here. She's finished." A beat of silence. Then a whisper, softer than the first. "Maybe she doesn't need to come back. Maybe she's already above us." The words hung in the air like a verdict. I wasn't there, but I felt it. Power shifting, his grip slipping, their loyalty cracking. The same silence that once crushed me was starting to betray him, and deep inside I smiled, quiet, steady, dangerous, because whispers spread faster than truth. And this time, the whispers were mine. The boardroom smelled of tension, sharp, metallic, familiar. My palms tingled as I traced the edge of my folder, steadying the storm inside me. One of the directors cleared his throat, voice formal but carrying weight. "Effective immediately, she is your new CEO." The room froze. For a moment, silence hummed like electricity before snapping into gasps and whispers. From across the table, my old boss's jaw slackened. He sputtered, voice rising in disbelief. This is a mistake." I watched his face flush red, his fists clench against the polished table. A strange calm settled over me, the same kind of calm that follows a hurricane. "A mistake?" My voice was low but sharp enough to slice through the murmurs. The mistake was underestimating me in front of everyone. A chair scraped as one of the managers leaned forward, eyes wide. "Wait, you mean she's the one leading us now?" "Yes," the board member confirmed. "The acquisition finalized this morning. She holds majority leadership." Whispers rippled like wildfire. I heard one murmur from the far end. "Didn't he fire her?" Another, harsher. "Fired her in front of the entire office." His head snapped toward them, eyes blazing. "Quiet! None of you know what you're talking about." I felt the words rising, years of silence pressing behind them. "No, they know. They all remember. The day you stripped me of dignity while they sat frozen." The table stilled. Eyes shifted toward me. The weight of the memory filled the room like smoke, thick and choking. "You'll ruin this company," he snarled, slamming his palm down. "She's reckless, emotional, vindictive." I lifted my hand, calm, steady. "Enough." My voice didn't waver. Reckless is clinging to power through humiliation. Emotional is firing someone because you feared her strength. Vindictive is believing you could crush me, and I'd never rise again. His lips parted. But no sound came. The boardroom fell silent. Except for the ticking of the clock above us, a junior manager cleared his throat nervously. She already closed deals we couldn't. Maybe she's the one who can steer us forward. A soft murmur of agreement spread. Heads began to nod. I leaned forward, locking eyes with the man who once laughed as he cut me down. I walked out of this company with nothing but the echo of your words. And now I return with everything you tried to deny me, not because you allowed it, but because I refused to let your cruelty define me. His voice cracked as he muttered, "You'll fail. They'll turn on you like they did me." I almost pitied him. Almost. "Failure doesn't scare me," I whispered. "Silence does. And I won't lead with silence." Gasps flickered around the table. Someone murmured, "She's not afraid." Another whispered, "She doesn't need to be." The old boss slumped back into his chair, his authority unraveling before my eyes. I drew in a slow, steady breath. This boardroom will no longer be a stage for arrogance. It will be a place of accountability, starting today. The clock ticked louder, almost like applause. Inside me, the knot that once strangled my breath began to loosen. I stood taller. My voice steadied, final, unshaken. Their comfort ended where my dignity began, and I will never forget that. And with those words, the power shifted. The meeting room buzzed low with unease, the kind that crawled under my skin. I folded my hands in my lap, forcing myself to stay still, to let the storm gather before I entered it. "You cost us our voice when we stayed quiet," one of the staff finally blurted. His voice cracked, but it cut through the room like glass. My old boss's head jerked up, his face flushed. "Your voice? I gave you jobs, don't twist it," a woman across the table whispered, trembling. "You didn't give us anything. You dangled fear over us. We stayed because we were scared, not loyal." His laugh was jagged, desperate. "Scared? Of what? Discipline? Expectations? You all wanted security, and I gave it." "No," another staff member muttered, fists clenched on the table. "You gave us silence. You trained us to swallow our dignity." The room stilled. My heart thudded in my chest. He slammed his hand down. "You think you suffered? I carried this company on my back. I kept the lights on. Without me, none of you would even be sitting here." I felt the bile rise in my throat. My fingers dug into my palm. Still, I stayed silent, letting their voices build. One of the younger staff leaned forward, eyes glistening. She was braver than all of us. She stood up while we bowed our heads. "And you humiliated her for it." His voice faltered. I laughed that day. "I didn't stop you. I told myself it wasn't my fight." He swallowed hard. "But it was. And I failed." The boss's face twisted, half fury, half panic. "You think she's your savior? She's just bitter and loud. I was protecting this company from her." I rose slowly, the scrape of my chair echoing like a verdict. My voice was calm, but it trembled with fire. "Protecting? You call breaking people down protection?" His eyes darted to me, sweat beading on his forehead. I took a step closer. "Jobs don't excuse chains." The words hung heavy. No one breathed. "You all had a choice," I continued, my voice softer now, raw. "To speak or to stay silent. And your silence was another cage one of the staff stammered, eyes wet. "We thought keeping our heads down would keep us safe. But it only kept us small." Another whispered, "I told myself it wasn't my problem. But it was. I see that now." The boss's voice broke into a shout, cracking at the edges. "Enough. I won't stand here and be accused by ingrates. I built this place." "No," I murmured, stepping closer, holding his gaze until he flinched. "You built walls. And today those walls are falling." His chest heaved, his lips trembling around words that no longer carried weight. The authority he once wielded like a weapon slipped from his hands, shattered by the voices of those he had silenced. And for the first time, he looked small. I inhaled slowly, letting the moment pierce me. This wasn't just his collapse, it was theirs too, the staff confessing their complicity, their betrayal wrapped in regret. But as their guilt surfaced, so did my clarity. He had chained us with fear. They had chained me with silence, and now those chains were breaking. The auditorium hummed with unease. Rows of staff, board members in stiff chairs, and eyes that once looked through me now pinned themselves to my every breath. My chest tightened, but I stood anyway. I let the silence stretch, heavy, suffocating. Then I spoke. You never saw me as human. My voice carried, low but sharp enough to cut the air. Today you'll see me as leader. A murmur rippled across the room. My old boss lurched forward, face flushed, voice trembling with fury. Don't listen to this performance. She's manipulating you. She's always been what? I snapped, stepping toward him. Too bold? Too ambitious? Too black to sit at the table you thought you owned? Gasps shot through the audience. Someone shifted uncomfortably in the second row. I drew a breath, steadier now. You stripped me of my dignity in front of this office. You told me I didn't belong. And you all— My eyes swept the staff, their faces paling. You stayed silent. No one spoke. The weight of complicity pressed down, thick as smoke. A woman near the back finally whispered, her voice cracking. We were afraid. I locked eyes with her. Fear doesn't excuse chains. Every silence gave him permission. Every bowed head was another link. The boss slammed his hand on the table. Lies! I built this company. Without me, none of you would be here. A younger staff member stood, voice trembling but loud enough to echo. Without you, we might have had a voice years ago. Applause burst, hesitant at first, then growing, filling the air like thunder. His face drained. He stammered, You don't understand. I protected you. I gave you security. Security? I whispered, the word bitter on my tongue. You gave us cages. I stepped forward, my voice swelling, raw with every scar I carried. You never saw me as human. You saw me as threat. But here I stand, not broken, not silent, not your victim. I am what you feared most. Proof that your cruelty couldn't crush me. The applause swelled again, stronger, louder, until it shook the room. He tried to shout over it, his words stumbling, choking. You'll regret this. She'll ruin you all. She— His voice cracked, collapsing into silence. For the first time, he had no weapon left. I turned, facing the staff, the board, the weight of every pair of eyes. My hands trembled, but my voice did not. Leadership isn't about comfort. It's about truth. And the truth is this. Our silence nearly destroyed us. But today we choose dignity. We choose voice. We choose change. The room erupted. Applause thundered, not hesitant now, but whole. I closed my eyes, the sound washing over me. Not applause for me alone, but for the end of silence, and when I opened them, I saw it, his collapse, his power stripped, his arrogance swallowed by the roar of voices he could no longer silence. For the first time, the office didn't freeze, it rose. I sat alone in my office, the hum of silence louder than any applause. My chest still carried the echo of that moment. Their clapping, his collapse, my words cutting through years of suffocating silence. A soft knock broke the quiet. My friend stepped in, her eyes searching mine. So it's real. You did it. I let out a shaky breath. Did I? Or did the weight of truth just finally crush the lies? She smiled faintly, lowering herself into the chair across from me. You burned the same office that once burned you. I shook my head, the words rough in my throat. No, I lit it so no one else walks in blind again. Her gaze softened. But wasn't this about you too? About reclaiming what he stole? I swallowed hard, the memory slashing back. His smirk, the silence of my colleagues, my dignity stripped in front of their frozen faces. My stomach twisted. Yes, I whispered. It was about me. But it was never only about me. Every silence that day carried someone else's voice too scared to rise. Every bowed head was a mirror of what I could have become if I gave up. She leaned forward, her voice trembling. And you didn't. You walked back in stronger. I laughed softly, bitter at the edges. Stronger, yes, but not unscarred. I'll never forget how it felt. The sting of his words, the sting of their silence. You shouldn't forget, she murmured. Scars remind us where not to bleed again. The room fell quiet. I stared at the window, the city lights spilling like shattered glass against the night. For a moment I saw myself in that reflection, once small, once silenced, now standing tall enough to see above the walls built to cage me. I turned back to her, my voice low but steady. I used to think dignity was expensive, that survival meant shrinking. But I learned something in that room today. Her eyes widened. What? That survival without dignity is just another kind of death. She blinked back tears, nodding. So what now? I drew a long breath, the air burning my chest before spilling out. Now I lead. Not as the woman they fired, not as the silence they ignored, but as the voice they can't bury anymore. She reached across the desk, squeezing my hand. I'm proud of you, I smiled, faint but true. I'm proud of me, too. I stood, the weight of my past still clinging but no longer anchoring me. Their comfort ended where my dignity began, I whispered, the words rolling like a vow through my chest. And that will always be enough. The corridors felt different now. The same walls that once echoed with my humiliation now carried a quieter hum, one of unease, of rebuilding. I walked slowly, listening, letting the silence tell me where the cracks still lived. Two voices drifted from the break room, low, almost ashamed. We should have spoken up that day, one murmured. I know, another whispered back. We froze. We let her stand alone. I stepped into the doorway and their eyes widened. One stammered, We're sorry. I held their gaze, steady but not cruel. Don't whisper change. Live it! Their heads lowered, shame thick in the air. Later, in a small meeting room, another staff member fidgeted, eyes fixed on the table. I told myself it wasn't my fight, he confessed. But it was. I see that now. His voice cracked, raw. Can you forgive us? The question pierced deep. Part of me wanted to shout, to hurl back the silence I had carried like chains. Instead, I breathed. Forgiveness isn't the point, change is. If you want to honor me, honor yourselves, speak when silence feels safe. That's when it matters most. A heavy quiet followed. Then, one by one, they nodded. I left them there, hearts heavier than when they entered. But maybe heavy hearts were the only soil where courage could grow. News of him, my old boss, reached me in fragments. He left town. He's consulting somewhere smaller. People don't take him seriously anymore. His name faded like smoke, once choking. Now nothing but a faint smell clinging to memory. That night, I sat with my friend in my office, lights dim, city glowing beyond the glass. She leaned back, eyes on me. You really erased him. I shook my head slowly. No, he erased himself. I just refused to vanish with him. She smiled faintly. So what now? I looked out at the city, at the thousands of windows lit with lives I'd never touch, yet somehow spoke for. My voice softened, but it carried weight. Now I chart a vision where no one swallows their dignity to survive, where silence no longer protects cruelty, where voice is power and power is shared. Her eyes glistened. Big promises. I felt the old scar in my chest pulse, not in pain, but in reminder. Scars demand promises. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. The hum of the city filled the room, steady, alive. I leaned back, closing my eyes. The memory of that first humiliation flashing again. The smirk, the silence, the sting. But now the image didn't crush me. It lit me, I whispered, half to her, half to the night. Their comfort ended where my dignity began, and that will always be enough.